All right, I'm joined by Rene, who is our VP of VP of Programs at for our Denver locations. And Rene has just a really cool story, a really cool journey. He's done several things here at Denver Rescue Mission. And thank you for getting up this early. And although I know that you're usually up this early and coming in for something.
Yeah, this is sort of my regular schedule, but I'm glad to be here with you. So, yeah.
Thank you. If I fall asleep, just take it wherever it goes. You'll be fine.
Okay.
So why don't you share a little bit about your story, your testimony, and how you got to DRM?
Well, I mean, it's been kind of a circuitous path, but I originally started out to studying engineering, which I wanted to be an engineer since I was just a little boy, and but once I was in college studying engineering, for some reason it just did not seem right, and I didn't enjoy it. And then I enlisted in the Coast Guard, and I was ready to go back east, and I flunked the physical.
Really?
And because I was colorblind, I didn't even realize it. And then I didn't know what to do, so I became a carpenter and began building houses. And but during that time, the Lord revealed Himself to me, and then I married my wife, and then 3 pastors told me they felt like I had a calling to ministry. So we went to school where I studied for ministry, and then we did some missionary work in Mexico for a while. And then I was doing as an associate pastor, some churches. And I enjoyed that, but it just still wasn't quite right. And then I became a teacher in a school, and that wasn't right. But the chairman of the board of directors of Albuquerque Rescue Mission, she said that Albuquerque Rescue Mission needed a chaplain, and I should apply for that. So I did apply for that. And they did hire me to become a chaplain. That was back in 1994.
Wow.
And the first day that I was there, I knew that's what I was called to do.
The first day.
Yeah, it just felt right, and I knew. And so I've been in that ever since at Albuquerque Rescue Mission. Now I've been in Denver Rescue Mission for about 6.5 years now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And you started out here as a chaplain or leading the chaplains?
Yeah, actually, I accepted a job here to be the director of shelters.
Okay.
And I did that through COVID. And then because I'd also been a chaplain and I was an ordained minister, in which I was also doing pastoral work, they asked me if I'd be willing to take on the chaplaincy role, director chaplaincy, and I was glad to do that, and was able to direct the chaplains for 2 years and kind of get it set into where the chaplains became clinical chaplains.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's when I became the vice president of programs for Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we're really happy about. We're glad you said yes.
Yeah.
So you use the term clinical chaplains. For people that may not know what that is, can you unpack that?
Yeah, so in rescue mission work, typically lots of people were called chaplains.
Yeah.
And sometimes a chaplain would take people on a van to a doctor. Sometimes they would sweep the hallways. Other times they would administer breath alcohol tests, or they were just sort of a catch-all drawer of the rescue mission.
Yeah.
Which was it worked for a time, but we reached a point where we needed chaplains that were very well educated and very well trained to deal with the issues that we were dealing with.
Yeah.
The thing is you can go to and work in a hospital, and what they have is clinical pastoral education, where they train you how to work in a hospital or hospice or the armed forces, or there's many different places where you can be a chaplain, and they have specific training for those areas. But working among the homeless population, and especially in rescue missions, there has not been that kind of training.
Mm.
And so we were able to, I hired a new director of chaplaincy, Jacob Katsira, who is completing his board certification to be a board certified chaplain. And then he's also training to be a clinical pastoral education trainer, which enables us to not only have our 7 chaplains, but also to take in interns. And we're hoping in the future to become an accredited training site where we can train chaplains for other rescue missions.
Yeah.
And with clinical pastoral education, the chaplains, they learn lots of things that work for any chaplain in general. But in our context, we're able to help people to learn how to work in shelters and recovery programs, so that they're very well trained to do those type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for a chaplain working in our setting, in our shelters, what does I know there's no such thing as a typical day in this work, but if there is something close, what's a typical day for a chaplain look like?
Well, like for myself, I mean, I still go to our largest shelter, 40th Avenue, and I do devotions on Monday and Thursday morning, which means that I'm there about 6:30 in the morning, and then they make the announcement a little before 7 a.m., and then men come into our sacred space, and I give them a half-hour devotion before their breakfast time. And so for our chaplains at the various sites, usually that's how they start their day.
Mm-hmm.
And then they begin to do rounds, which means that they walk around the shelters or the programs or community center and just begin to check on people. And, people, a lot of times I tell chaplains that chaplaincy is best done in hallways. Because sometimes it's called liminal spaces, which means that a chaplain does not typically sit behind a closed door in his office behind a desk.
Right.
Instead, he walks around and connects with people and talks with them and tries to listen and be perceptive to catch people that need to talk to someone about their spiritual life at that time and just receive some comfort and some encouragement. And so a chaplain will do that. Then a chaplain will also see that there's some people that want to begin to meet one-to-one regularly. So they'll begin to set up appointments for them and be able to kind of give them some spiritual direction at that time. But the chaplains also, we have about 165 what we call spiritual events, which could be a devotion, a Bible study, a chapel service, which are community events. And so they have about 165 of those a month, which in attendance about 1,500 people.
Wow. And it's all voluntary.
Yes, it's all voluntary. We don't force people to come to chapel before they eat.
Right.
We invite them to these things, but so there's a lot of that for chaplains. But then sometimes there's difficult things that happen in rescue missions.
Yeah.
And so many of our chaplains are trained in critical incident stress debriefing, which means that they will connect one-to-one with a staff member that's been through a critical incident or a group that's been at a critical incident. And we not only do that here at Denver Rescue Mission, but a couple of us actually do it at other homeless service providers. But chaplains do that, but they also just kind of help people to deal with some traumatic incidents that happen in rescue missions and sometimes even moral injury.
Yeah.
Which means that, there are times where our shelters are just completely full and we have no more room and we have to turn someone away. And for a staff member to do that, especially on a winter night, is very difficult.
Yeah.
And that can cause moral injury. So some of the chaplains are trained in helping people to walk through that.
Yeah. And people that decide to do this job they're called to do this job. So they're called to help people and to help people at their greatest time of need. And then to your point, now it's a cold winter night and we are completely full. We're not allowed to take another person in. And somebody at that front door has to say no when they know that the snow is flying and the wind chill is low.
Yes,
and yeah, I mean, that's not easy to do, and it's not easy to forget or to get over, right?
Yeah. No, it's not. And
Yeah.
and that type of thing is best done by a chaplain. In fact,
Yes.
in the armed services, they're very experienced in that. And the people that are best equipped to deal with that type of thing are chaplains.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it frequently becomes a spiritual issue
Yeah.
and not just a counseling issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And then large part of your job as VP of programs for Denver. So you oversee several sites, hundreds and hundreds of people in the beds every night.
Yeah.
That's a really big job. And how you see the tragedy that happens.
Yes.
Like you've been talking about, even with the chaplains, you see the triumph on the other end when somebody leaves homelessness, and then you see everything in between, because in some ways we're like a really small town.
Yes.
Right. And people bring their stuff with them. So how do you get up every day and navigate through what your job is going to require? Because it could be tragedy one moment and triumph the next.
Well, I mean, a lot of that has come through experience, but but I think that's just part of my makeup and what God has prepared me for. That, and this is really calling for me. I really love to work with the people in our shelters and our programs, but I also, I love our staff and that they're willing to do this kind of hard work.
Yes.
And that's always a joy to me. So I love, my management style is I walk around. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just, that's just how I connect with staff. And I honestly, sometimes I don't know what's going to happen that day. And sometimes it's very joyful times. And like you're talking about, someone that's gone into gone into housing, or somebody returning from the hospital that I didn't know if they were going to survive.
Right.
But it's also, there is just joy that, that God has given me the privilege and responsibility for this work at Denver at this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have so many people that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But also it's not just Denver Rescue Mission's work. It's like,
right.
This is a problem for society.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like when I was in Albuquerque, sometimes I would get calls from people saying, could you come get your people off my stoop?
Yeah, get your people.
And and what I always would talk about when we're doing community meetings is that they're not my people.
Yeah.
They're people.
Yeah.
And they're citizens of Albuquerque or Denver or wherever. And we need to care for them. And the way to care for them is not to hide them away.
Yes.
It's to actually fix what's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we push them away or hide them away, and they're just going to the next stoop, right?
Yes.
And the problem is just going to continue to snowball.
Yeah.
So I really like that perspective. So how has this work impacted you?
I really think that it has taught me to pray.
Yeah.
The disciples, once they saw Jesus as he would spend so much time in prayer, and their words to him were not, teach me how to pray. Their words to him were, teach us to pray.
To pray, yeah.
And I cannot do this kind of work in my own strength. And so it has taught me to pray.
Yeah.
And, yes, I do have a prayer time in the morning when I'm walking around Crestmore Park. But all through the day, it's like this work has taught me to pray.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we desperately need God to do this through us.
Yeah.
And we don't, just need a little bit of help from him. We need him to do this work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's invited us into that. So that has helped me. It has also just given me resiliency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, I've had many challenges in working in rescue missions for 31 years, but that has also helped me deal with, issues in my own personal life.
Yeah.
Where I've been able to do that. And I think God has helped me that, now I'm an older man and I'm by myself here in Denver, but there was a time when I was doing this work and I was younger and had my kids at home, my wife. But God has put me through these different seasons and always given me what I needed to do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to show me that he's there with me, hasn't abandoned me, and helps me to deal with issues of life.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And you are, so often you're a voice of wisdom in the room, right? Whatever room it is or whatever walk that you're going on. It's God has just given you these experiences and this gifting and this wisdom, right? And I know it's one of the things that I personally appreciate about you is, most people maybe watching this won't recall this at all, but some of us that are a little bit older will recall the TV commercials about E.F. Hutton. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
And the tagline was, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Yes.
And that's Rene, right? When you talk, people listen, which I think it's a gift, right? And it's something that you've earned.
Well, yeah, thank you for saying that. Yes, and sometimes wisdom comes by making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, you got that right.
And so, yeah, but I'm thankful that sometimes I feel like I'm the grandfather of the rescue mission right now.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm glad to be in this place and, being able to help younger staff and help them to talk about different things and walk through things and how to think through issues. And
And I was sharing with somebody in an earlier conversation about the older I get, I feel like part of what God wants me to do is to pour into the younger people because I'm not going to be here forever, you're not going to be here forever, and if we can sort of impart some of those pieces of wisdom, some of the lessons we've learned from some of the mistakes that we've made, then we know that the mission isn't about us. It's about God and what he wants to do in and through it and in and through us. And our role as we get older is to pour into those emerging generations.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know I'm not going to be around forever, and I'm grateful to God that I have people that I've worked with and mentored that are in Roswell, New Mexico, or Los Angeles, California, or Boulder, Colorado, or other areas where I've worked with them, and they've been able to continue to do this work in different places.
Yeah.
And to do it well. And and in my ministry, especially being an Anglican minister, one of the things is that we're always trying to find someone to succeed us.
Yes.
Someone to take our place, because we know we will not be around forever.
Right.
And in fact, in the Anglican Church, at 70, you're done. Whether
are you really?
Whether you think you are or not.
They're like, nope, you're out of here.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I know our time is coming down a little bit, but is there a guest story that has just impacted you in amazing ways, or maybe a great success story of a guest that you always think of or remember?
Yeah, there are there's several of them, and I know when I first. No, this is sort of a funny story, and
good.
But when I started in Albuquerque, I had the director of the shelter and the program at that point. He was an older man that he had worked at Salvation Army, and he'd actually come off the streets himself. He was a banker who fell into alcoholism, and he ended up on the streets, and then he he came to faith, and he came to sobriety in the Salvation Army. Then he came to work for Albuquerque Rescue Mission to run the programs there, and just to see that because I was still new and I saw the great work that God did in him, but he had a very different way of ministering to people, and sometimes I would not be able to do that at Denver Rescue Mission. So, but one time, we were upstairs and we were serving lunch or dinner or something like that, and there was a big commotion of somebody at the front door that had gotten in, and he was the only one downstairs. And he was an older man at that time, and so we were ready to go rushing down. The younger staff were to help him, and we came down the stairs, and there was a man that was inebriated, and he was just breaking things, throwing things around, causing a commotion. And we were all ready to go help, to kind of step in between him and that director.
Yeah.
But what he did is he walked up to the man, and he put his finger to his lips and said, "Shh, shh, shh, you're going to wake the baby." And that man that was just totally out of control.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he said, Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to wake the baby.
No way.
And so then he walked to the door and he said, "Why don't you wait outside?" And the man walked outside and he was fine. So he, I saw that he helped me to think that there's not always one way to solve an issue.
Right. Yeah.
And that man that had that big commotion, instead of us having to call the police and bar him from services, he caught himself, and we were able to work with him.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a great story.
Yeah.
That's really creative too.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm just so grateful for you and just all the work that you do, and just the team that you lead is so absolutely amazing, the work that they do, and really grateful.
Well, thank you. I'm really proud of them, and I'm glad to work at Denver Rescue Mission, and I'm glad to work with you.
Well, thank you, my friend, and thanks for coming out to the bench on a
Okay.
cold morning. The sun's not even up yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But thank you so much, Rene.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right. We're going to watch a video, and then we'll have our next guest.